friends, in the series which we are doing on history of India from 1700 to 1950, today we will talk about Mahatma Gandhi and mass nationalism, Gandhian thought and techniques. As we know that how Mahatma Gandhi was instrumental in the framework of the Congress politics and the way he initiated various kinds of movements beginning from the Champaran Satyagraha. We find that non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement and Quit India movement were the three major movements of the Gandhian nationalism. And we also find that how the idea of nationalism in the framework of mass nationalism could be attributed to Gandhi, and the glimpses of this kind of participation of the masses could be seen in the 1905 Swadeshi movement. And thereafter we see that how Gandhi used various kinds of techniques which were in a way initiated by him in the context of Satya and Ahimsa. So this was some kind of a mantra of Gandhi, and Gandhi used the various kinds of techniques, whether it was fast or Satyagraha, to in a way initiate the various kinds of movements at different points of time, and he wanted that more and more people they should be part of the national movement. And beginning from 1917 onwards till 1940s, we find that various major movements they were launched by Gandhi, and they were being supported by masses at different levels. In the context of the readings, one can refer to M.K. Gandhi's Hind Swaraj, his My Experiments with Truth, D.J. Tendulkar's collected works of Gandhi, and Gandhiji, his life and work. So these are some of the readings which one can refer when one is talking about Mahatma Gandhi and his contribution to the national movement. We have also seen that apart from these books, there are a number of references on Gandhi, a number of books which have been written by other scholars which talk about the socio-economic political thought of Gandhi, his techniques and his ideas. And from that perspective, when we try to understand that how Gandhi, when he came to India from South Africa, and he was some kind of a celebrity, he was a known person for the kind of work which he did in South Africa. And initially he wrote Hind Swaraj and Hind Swaraj in 1909, which talks about his ideas, and Gandhi is also suggests that his later ideas should be acknowledged as more appropriate when one is talking about or trying to see his perspectives over a period of time. And when we talk about his work in South Africa, we find that he was able to in a way mobilize people. He was instrumental in a way in terms of talking about the ideas of passive resistance in South Africa as well. And when one talks about his contribution in the framework of the national movement, apart from the various movements which were launched by Gandhi, we find that he was also involved in a lot of constructive work, and he was thinking, or rather doing a lot of effort in terms of removal of untouchability, and he also talked about the propagation of the ideal or idea of Hindu-Muslim unity. So we find that how Gandhi was able to mobilize the masses in the framework of the mass nationalism, and at the same time his techniques, when one is talking about that how the truth and ahimsa was central to his philosophy, and he wanted to in a way see that his thought and practice are similar. And we also find that whatever Gandhi believed in, he wanted to in a way execute that. So some kind of a consistency in belief and action was part of the Gandhian ideology. And we talked about that how he was also instrumental in mobilizing people for the Satyagraha which he launched at different levels, and this idea of Satyagraha could be seen in the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement and the Quit India movement. So we find that Gandhi's beliefs were instrumental also in terms of mobilizing the masses, and this idea of ahimsa or non-violence also suited so many people, those who did not believe in the cult of violence as well. And Gandhi in a way suggested that through these kinds of methods one will be able to attain Swaraj. And when one is talking about the national movement of the earlier period, where we have the moderate politics and the extremist politics, so how Gandhi transformed that kind of a politics which was there in the earlier period, and his techniques, they also played an important role in terms of fighting the colonial forces. So we find that how efforts in India's struggle for independence, Gandhi played an important role in the framework of Satya and Ahimsa, and we find that it also became some kind of a hallmark of the Gandhian phase as well. Gandhi also believed that his in the context of means and ends, and he believed that whatever belief and the methods, they had their logic of their own, and Gandhi wanted to maintain the sanctity of the means to attain the ends. So Gandhi believed in this kind of a thinking, where the right kind of an approach was to be followed in terms of attaining the ends. And we find that Gandhi had a lot of influence, a number of ideological orientations which were there, and how they shaped Gandhian thought. For example, Gandhi's early thoughts were influenced by the values of Nationalism and traditions of Jainism, and Bhagavad Gita also had a great impact on Gandhi. So in that sense, how his thoughts, they were evolved over a period of time, and the way he read Ruskin, Thoreau and Tolstoy, all of them, they also influenced Gandhi. So the thoughts of Gandhi largely borrowed from Bhagavad Gita or from the earlier traditions of Vaishnavism, and we find that Gandhi was deeply committed to his ideological orientations, and he believed that whatever kind of a thought he had to put that thought into practice. So this unity of belief and practice was integral to Gandhian thought, and many times we find that Gandhi had some kind of a peculiar logic of his own in the context of the various kinds of actions which were taken by him, but that logic was applied by Gandhi, and Gandhi believed in that kind of a logic. And even many times it has also been argued by other scholars, those who have like Judith Brown, those who have seen Gandhi as some kind of a contractor, and other leaders of the national movement as subcontractors who were tied to Gandhi. So such a kind of negative or criticism of Gandhi has been done by a number of scholars, but when we because they want to in a way reject the ideals of the national movement. When one is talking about in the various kinds of movements which were initiated by Gandhi, whether it was Champaran Satyagraha in 1917, where Gandhi fought for the peasants, and the Ahmedabad mill strike, where Gandhi fought for the workers, or again the Kheda Satyagraha in 1980, dealing with the issues of the peasant community, and the issue of Rowlatt Act, which was based on no appeal, no vakil, no dalil. And Gandhi in a way was trying to position it as one of the first all India movements, and we find that how later the Khilafat movement and which was initiated by Gandhi, and thereafter how this movement merged in the non-cooperation movement in 1920. And when this movement was withdrawn because of the Chauri Chaura incident, we find that Gandhi was criticized a lot for the withdrawal of the movement, but Gandhi felt that it was the right time to withdraw the movement because of the fact that the people were not ready to in a way fight the colonial rule at that point of time, because they had become violent. So Gandhi had his own logic with regard to it, and Gandhi was criticized by others for withdrawing the movement, for breaking the momentum of the 1920 movement which was launched by him. Thereafter, Gandhi also engaged in the constructive work, and when the civil disobedience movement was launched in 1930, then we find that he used salt as a kind of commodity on which this movement was launched, and many questioned the beliefs of Gandhi or the logic of Gandhi, that how salt would be an important factor in the civil disobedience movement. And when we find that so many people, they participated in the movement because salt was a commodity which was used by everyone, whether a rich or a poor, and Gandhi believed that this kind of commodity will definitely appeal to all the sections of the society, and we find that a huge participation of different sections of the society in the civil disobedience movement. And it was also the movement where we find that a lot of women, they participated in this movement. And thereafter we find that in the Quit India movement, Gandhi, when it was initiated, at some points this movement was also violent in nature, but Gandhi did not ask the followers of this movement to stop this movement, because Gandhi realized that the violence of the state in terms of oppressing the people was a far greater violence than this. So we find that how this kind of a term, this kind of a term in the framework of the Ram Raj, which was used by Gandhi, he was talking in the framework of the idea of an ideal society. And Gandhi himself was a passionate follower of Lord Ram, one of the incarnations of Lord Vishnu, who is considered by Hindus as Maryada Purushottam Ram. That is the best man who lived within constraints of the society. So we find that Gandhi's own personal beliefs, one's own personal faith in the framework of Hinduism, Gandhi was a passionate follower of Lord Ram, and he in a way suggested that Gandhi also talked about Ram Raj in that sense, and it was talked in the framework of an ideal society. So he was not only referring to the god Ram in that sense, rather he was in a way talking about the concept of Ram Raj, where we have an ideal state where we do not find any kind of class distinctions in the society, and there is a lack of misery in the society, and there is no scarcity. So any kind of a difference, either on the basis of sex or on the basis of wealth, could not be seen in such kind of a society. And we find that when these kinds of things, they will be there in the society, for example, the lack of disease and the existence of people without any fear, hatred and jealousy. So in that sense, we find that Gandhi's ideal in the concept, in the context of the Ram Raj, was within the framework of these kinds of characteristics which should be there in an ideal society. And Gandhi borrowed from the idea of Ram, or the Ram in the framework of the Lord Ram. We find that because Ram was a dutiful son, he was an affectionate brother, a truthful husband, and a sincere and genuine a just king as well. So we find that all these kinds of aspects, they were integral to the Gandhian beliefs and thinking, and we find that many scholars, they have in a way portrayed some kind of a different interpretation of Gandhi's Ram Raj. They have in a way misinterpreted the ideals and principles which Gandhi talked about, and many times they have argued that Gandhi was referring to Lord Ram, who was the king of Ayodhya in that sense. But Gandhi made it quite evident that his Ram is not the Ram of Ayodhya. He employed the term Ram to explain God, the eternal, the unborn, and the one without the second. So Gandhi was very clear with regard to his ideals, and many times he also in a way created or in a way communicated these kinds of issues to the masses. And Gandhi also suggests that truth was God to him, and he also suggests that Ram Raj in a way was a kingdom of God on earth to him. So this kind of a desire for the kingdom of God on the earth in the present and not in the heaven in the future was in a way talked about by Gandhi, and Gandhi realized that through such kind of an idea, he was in a way raising the consciousness of the people within the framework of the Ram Raj, where Maryada Purushottam Ram was the ruler of that particular state. So we find that apart from that, Gandhi was also able to in a way use other kinds of symbols within the framework of the national movement, and Khadi was one of the important aspects in that particular framework, where we find that he was talking about the indigenous production. And he also realized that when more and more people, they will be involved in the production of khadi, then more people will also participate in the national movement as well. And when Gandhi says that it also reflects thus, or in a way it is a symbol or sign of the unity of India against the British authority. And Gandhi also in a way propagates the forceful message of Indian self-reliance and dignified existence even in the most challenging situations. So Gandhi was talking about these kinds of aspects in the framework of the contemporary society, where he realized that khadi would be able to unite the different sections of the society who were there in India. And we also see that how deindustrialization happened in India, and deindustrialization happened in the textile industry because modern industries, they were not being established by the British, and the handloom sector or the textile industry, which was flourishing in India at that point of time, got deindustrialized because of the policies which were followed by the British. So Gandhi also realized that religious industries of India, they were being sacrificed by the British for their own trade and commerce, and how Gandhi thought about reviving the Indian industries, and how the British cloth which was coming to India in terms of imports was giving some kind of a severe jolt to the Indian handicraftsmen. So if the Indian handicraftsmen, they had to survive, then they had to in a way use or diversify themselves. They have to in a way produce different kinds of cloth at that point of time. Otherwise we find that the cloth or the clothes which were coming from Manchester and other textile units of Britain, they were a serious threat to the Indian handicraftsmen and the Indian handloom industry. And in that framework we find that how over a period of time khadi was associated with nationalism, and it became some sort of a symbol of nationalism, and how the economic function of khadi was in terms of generating income for the rural masses, those who could in a way engage in these kinds of activities to what we find to generate more income for themselves. And the political function of the khadi was to promote the idea of nationalism. When more and more people they will use khadi, then we find that it will provide some kind of a political framework to the ideals which were there associated with the national movement. Apart from that, we also talk about the social function of khadi, where it will ameliorate or in a way improve the oppressed by focusing on the dignity of work, because people, they will be self-reliant, they will engage themselves in the production of cloth for themselves. So this would be some kind of a new aspect where the dignity of work would be assigned to them. In the context of the moral function, we find that how the cultivating qualities of self-suffering, they could also be in a way connected to the ideal of the moral function which khadi would bring about. So in this context, we find that khadi became some kind of a symbol in the framework of the Swadeshi, and how the Swadeshi spirit which was associated with khadi was in a way emphasized time and again. And Gandhi believed that Swadeshi was a theoretical term and khadi the real manifestation of Swadeshi, because khadi was produced by people themselves when they were using charkha for themselves. And we also see that khadi also became some sort of a multi-use tool for the education of people as well, because it was standing for some kind of a symbol for the national movement, and various ideals of the national movement, they were also associated with khadi, as we have discussed. And Gandhi, in a framework, viewed the spinning wheel as a tool to achieve the village reconstruction at local stage, as some kind of a solution to Swaraj at national stage, and a force for creating peace at international level as well. So Gandhian belief in the spinning wheel in the framework of a tool to achieve village reconstruction was an important aspect, and Gandhi was also linking it to the idea of Swaraj, and how peace could also be in a way connected to this at the international level, as peace or non-violence was very close to Gandhi. We also see that how khadi was also integral to national regeneration, as Gandhi talked about, and he says that he was supporting it for three reasons. First was that it could be easily learnt. Secondly, it can be the readiest employment to those who have time and want to earn some money, and it needs no money or capital. So we find that it was a simple method where the learning was comparatively easier when one wanted to engage in terms of production of khadi, and how it was able to provide employment to the people, those who had time and those who wanted to earn some kind of money from it. And we see that when one was engaging in the production of khadi, then they did not need much capital or money to engage themselves in this kind of a production. And how people, those who had time, their idleness would also be removed because they will be engaged in the production of khadi. And many a times, as we find during the 19th century and even in the 20th century, we had a lot of famines, and how because of the economic policies of British, a number of famines where lakhs of people, they died during this particular period. So the production of khadi would also provide some kind of reprieve to these people during the times of famine and shortage. And we also see that the drain of wealth which was caused by the purchase of foreign cloth can be stopped by it, because when people will use khadi which was being produced in India, then the purchase of the foreign cloth by them, it will stop, and the money which was going out of India through the drain of wealth will also be stopped. And we find that how masses, they were also inclined in terms of production of Gandhi. They did not have any kind of a dislike for it, and how it could also be seen as a powerful tool of securing cooperation among masses, that how masses they could in a way cooperate with each other. And we also see that how the kind of means which were used at that point of time, so one should not depend on others and should do one's own work. That is what Gandhi talks about, whether in the framework of the usage of charkha or the production of khadi, or for that matter Gandhi also engages in toilet cleaning, where he wanted that others should not do this kind of a menial job for him, and Gandhi himself engaged in this kind of a work, and at the same time he motivated others to do it for themselves. So Gandhi in a way talked about some kind of a self-reliance on an individual level, and asked others to also do their own work, which was an important contribution of Gandhi, in the sense that many people, those who were followers of Gandhi, they also in a way practiced these kinds of aspects in their own personal and private lives. And as Gandhi opened many ashrams at different places, so these kinds of ideas, they were also in a way propagated in different, they were being talked about, they were being communicated to the masses in these ashrams as well. And we also see that how Gandhi's fight against untouchability was an important idea of that particular period, and Mulk Raj Anand's novel Untouchable is representative of the anguish of the untouchables in a society where they have no dignity and self-respect. So how Mulk Raj Anand also went to one of the Gandhi's ashrams, and he stayed there, and he saw people doing their own work, or the Gandhian way of life which was being practiced there. And we find that Gandhian ideas definitely played an important role in the national movement, and we'll continue with all these kinds of aspects with regard to the Gandhian movement, his techniques, his methods, in our next lecture. Thank you very much.